What's up, you guys? We're back with another episode. We had our first in-person guest on this podcast, none other than Pavel Barber, OG hockey content creator. Super stoked for this episode.
Pavel Barber, the GOAT in the game. Let's go. It's dope to have him on. First in-person guest in the shop. Quite excited to get into it. Hope you guys really like it, and let's run it.
Let's go. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the DISHIN podcast. This is pretty crazy. We got our first in-person guest today. Super stoked about that. We got Pavel Barber on the pod. OG hockey content creator. If you guys don't know him, look him up. If you guys do know him, this guy's the man. I mean, I'm super excited to have you on. Appreciate you doing this. Maddie, I know we've talked about having a guest on for a while, so this is super dope for us to have you as the first guest. So
yeah, it means a lot, man. Thank you so much. And dope to have you in Buffalo here, too. So excited to get in everything. And everything Nick said was so true. So first guest, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, crazy. I didn't know it was the first guest. I thought you meant just first guest, like in just this place.
In person.
Yeah, wicked, man. Well, let's run it.
So, yeah. But, yeah, just to kind of get into it, too, like, again, for people who don't know, can you kind of, like, introduce yourself a little bit and kind of tell kind of our following, like, you know, what you do? I know, obviously, like, the hockey videos have been something you've been doing for, God, probably over 10 years now, right?
Yeah, it's something like that. I think probably since 2016, I would say I started to get more serious into it and actually make it like a job. Mm-hmm. So yeah, close to 10 years doing that. Just, you know, started off just a hockey instructor in the Vancouver area when I lived there. And then from there just started shooting videos for fun, you know, phone on a milk crate, shooting shootout moves for fun in between lessons. And that's where it all began. Instagram just introduced videos. It was just pictures before. And that's kind of when I came in. So good timing to get into it for sure.
That's sick. And like, did you play? Like, you played junior, right?
I played AAA until I was like 18, and then when I was done that, I was playing U21 AAA until I was like 20. And then when I was doing that, I was also playing field hockey for Team Canada. So I was playing like 20, 30 games of that. And then I was like training for field hockey. And then that's why I moved to Vancouver is eventually it was just like, you got to make the move and commit to one sport, and decided to kind of switch it up and change sports.
Damn, that's sick. And like, obviously now you're doing this, like, again, like super, like, you know, full time. I mean, Matt, like we talk about this quite a bit. Like there's, you know, like I feel like there's always like a lot of like guys out there. Like I know like when I played like junior and stuff, I always was like, you know, what am I going to do after junior hockey or college hockey? Like what's next? Like I don't really know. But obviously like we do the clothing brand. I do like different, you know, hockey videos. So, you know, there's always ways to like stay relevant or like stay involved in the sport and like also monetize it in some capacity. So like that's always something I've really admired about you and like everything that you do, because I feel like you've really kind of set the bar for the hockey creator space in a way where like you really like you're seriously like an OG in that. So, and I know like it's really helped push the culture forward in a way where it's making it more acceptable for kids to be putting out videos of, you know, what they're doing or even documenting. And I mean, like you see like kids like Zach Bell, Always Hockey, and just all these different content creators. And I feel like you have a big influence on that. So that's super dope. But Maddie, did you have anything you kind of wanted to touch on a little bit here too?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm curious to see, like, when you were first originally getting started, was there anything that you found, maybe what you were creating content-wise originally early on that really, you know, like went viral, or what was your first opportunity to really see everything start to go in the direction where you are right now?
Yeah, it's hard to say what went viral first or something like that, because viral to me when I was starting was like you get 20 notifications. You're like, oh my God. Probably like I did a shootout move where I like flipped it up on my stick and then flipped it over my head, over the goalie's head, and then that one, when Vine was a thing, it got shared across Vine like crazy and all that stuff. And then I did the Patrick Kane challenge when that was like relevant. Like I think 3 days after he did it, I did it, and I got a guy to edit it with the same graphics as Bowery used and whatever. So that was kind of like, just getting your feet wet in the space, and you know, ever since then, just kind of understanding what does well, what doesn't. And I think the main thing for me was kind of learning, like trying not to like, you know, try to appease everyone and just stay true to what you think is entertaining to you. And if people want to follow and like that content, they will. And if they don't, that's understandable. It's not everyone's cup of tea, so you just got to do what you do.
True that, man. It's refreshing to hear that too, because I think everything that Nick and I do and everything we do with the DISHIN brand is the same type of thing. So, I mean, we're always, I think pushing the creative boundaries within the sport, and I think there's a lot of synergy between what we do together, just pushing the game forward creatively and just through, different fashion and different trends throughout the game as a whole. So, yeah, it's cool to see that we're so aligned and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. The game is, I think, moved forward so much as of recently and has still so much, of a direction to go to. So I'm excited to get into some more recent stuff, like you working with EA Sports and being featured in the game. So that was really sick. But I'll pass it back over to Nick. And
I want to talk a little bit about that, because I remember like when we FaceTimed a couple of weeks ago, you were telling me a little bit about that and how you've been working with EA. I think you said for like 3-4 years. Is that correct?
Like five years now. Working with them doing the motion capture.
That's what it was. Okay, so what was that whole process like? Like just from getting with EA, like maybe if they reached out to you, because like we've gotten to do some stuff over the years with EA, and they've been cool projects for us to work on. So I'm just curious to know what your experience was like when you first started working with them, and then also up until this point.
Yeah, so it's funny. Like I didn't get that gig because of what I do on social media. I knew a guy who actually was doing some motion capture for them, and they were like, oh, we need a guy to come and do some stick handling stuff. And he's like, oh, I got a guy who does stick handling, and like, here's his stuff. And they invited me out to do it through him. So it was a really awesome experience. You put on the bodysuit, whatever, skin tight dots on you. It's very tedious. Like, you're going slow and you're taking tons of breaks and doing things repetitively. But it was the year, I think the third year when I did it, when they introduced new moves, I got really excited. Like the Datsuk move, the pullback move, like Crosby's bank pass and spinning off a check, the little chip off the boards and skate, things I thought should have been in the game before. Like, they were introducing new moves, and you get to be the guy doing it.
That's pretty sick.
And it was awesome. Like, I didn't have to do any of the skating too, which is great, because they skate on synthetic ice, so it's a bag skate. So I'm just watching these guys pouring sweat, and I'm just chilling, stick handling, doing my thing. Yeah,
and it's sick too. Like, again, because obviously, like, the pro or junior careers don't last forever. So it's it's cool that you're still able to experience that in a different way, and also still be able to monetize that too, which is so cool. And I mean, it's we talk about it pretty regularly. It's just we're super grateful to be to do what we do full time, and to genuinely enjoy it, because we've got friends we grew up with who might not be super happy in their 9 to 5. So it's a blessing to be doing it. And obviously I'm sure you would know firsthand, this stuff's just such a grind though too. At the end of the day, people don't see a lot of the long hours that go into editing the videos, and then also practicing some of the moves you do. I was going to ask too, how long does it take you to master some of those moves? I'm sure you're probably getting a lot of reps over the years.
Yeah, I mean, certain ones harder than others. There's one I did the last month, where I tossed it behind my back, picked it up in the air and dragged it. Those take forever. You practice it a few times, but you have to get lucky with how much the puck flips and it landing on your blade. There's definitely luck involved in ones like that. And some other ones, like the fake slap shot, don't take too long, maybe a week or so, to kind of learn how to do it slowly, and then you could ramp it up, and then you do a fake slap up and a chip, and then Zorro it when it hits the ice, and it's slowly building on stuff you can do previously, and you're just trying to add layers to it, see what already exists, try and do a new spin on it. That's always what I thought social media is for. It's just trying to push the boundaries of what's possible and have fun while doing it, and that's all I've really tried to do with my page.
That's sick. And then I was about to say something too, and I just lost my train of thought. But
I was gonna say too, how do you come up with these different ideas and these different moves? I know you're saying adding different layers into them and stuff, but you ever feel I feel like you could almost say a writer's block or creative block with trying to come up with this type of stuff. So you ever experience that?
Yeah, for sure. I think you go through moments where you don't even think about doing moves for a while. It just doesn't even cross your mind or whatever it is, and then you just get that itch to start creating again, and ideas come to mind. I'm always kind of, when I'm on the ice, if I'm on the outdoor rinks, especially when it's unstructured, you're out there for 4 hours, so you're going to be goofing around for a little bit of that. And sometimes things just come to you as you're going. Sometimes I make mistakes, then I'm like, oh, maybe I can actually do that on purpose. Like a lot of stuff I do is actually just mess ups, and I kind of build that into something. And then, just, I guess, trial and error. I have a place in my basement where I put sport cord everywhere, and every now and then go down there and try and see if I can do something or see if something would be possible, and just try and mess around with skills, and hopefully you come up with something.
It's like your lab down there.
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. It's like every move I do on the ice, there's definitely some clips of me messing up 1,000 times in the basement, or just messing around. I should release that footage. It's pretty funny.
Just do a whole blooper.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's putting the holes in my drywall because you can't even shoot pucks through it. So we got some puck marks down there from a few colossal mess ups.
So I do remember what I was going to ask. So like, how were you practicing a lot of the stuff that like you do now on the ice? Like, were you doing that at a very young age, or like did you start kind of getting into like more of like the stick trick stuff post hockey career?
Yeah, definitely a little bit. Like I was kind of just scratching the surface. Like I remember being 8 years old when Mike Legg hit that Michigan and wanting to learn how to scoop it, and I couldn't do it when I was 8, but like as you got older you learn to do that, and then you put it between the legs and spin and throw it in the net, but that was pretty much the extent. I wasn't doing anything else with it. I was really obsessed with just the basics of stick handling, to be honest with you. Just being able to have control of the puck, lose checks and buy yourself time and chip the puck over a stick or whatever. That was pretty much the only skills I could do back then. And then I think when I got the job at UBC, when I was like around 20, it would be 22 or 23 years old, I started to mess around a lot more with it, and just snowballed from there. I think social media has helped me seeing, what other people are doing. Sometimes I get great ideas sent in from fans too. They're like, oh, you should try this, or they give me ideas to try something, and you kind of, give it a shot there.
I was going to say, yeah, because now you got guys too, like again, Zach Bell, Swaggy P, guys like that who are also doing all these stick tricks. So it's just cool. It's so cool to see. And like, there's NHL guys that can't even do half the shit you guys do. So like, to me, that's so fascinating because like, I'm sure these NHL guys see what you guys can do and they're like, damn, I can't even do that. And I'm making a bag playing, in this city over here. And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
exactly. Like I try and tell kids this, like, it really shouldn't be too surprising that NHL players can't do this, because it's a whole different thing. Like it's a whole different side of hockey. Most of what we do is not game applicable, and we try and say that to people. Like it's just messing around, trying to have fun and make social media posts. It's kind of like skateboarding, trying to do a trick that hasn't been done and trying to build on it. So it's funny, like, when I've talked to NHL players, they're like, most of them are blown away by what you can do. But then it's like, for me, looking at them, seeing them do basic stuff at the highest level, like blows me away constantly. Like seeing a guy like Kane just buy himself time and space from players, and especially in his prime, that kind of stuff. It doesn't look as flashy from a skills point of view, but it's pretty insane what those guys are doing at just like a basic level at the highest league in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy where the game is at right now. It's just so fast, and I feel like it's at the peak of its entertainment. It's only going to get better too. So I'd be curious to see, like, what is your opinion of the game right now, and how do you see it as a fan, as a creator, as a someone who's in the game, and from a unique perspective, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's faster, it's more skilled. I have this conversation with people all the time. People say there's no hitting in the game anymore. I think most of that is attributed to the fact that players are way better with their edges, and they're way more aware of their surroundings more than ever. They're just harder to hit. Yeah. Not saying hitting hasn't gone down. We introduced new rules around blindside hits and hits to the head and stuff like that, which are good to have in the game. But I think the skill shining through is just like the best thing for the game. When you think about growing the game, you think of what moves are posted on social media and garnering a lot of attention and bringing new hockey fans in. Yeah. Like, yes, the Michigan move is a very low percentage move in terms of how often it's used and how often it goes in compared to other moves, but it does grow the game. Yeah. It does reach wider audiences, and it helps us. So seeing guys like Bedard do it, seeing Zegras do it, and stuff like that, it's phenomenal. And then, like you said earlier, just the speed of the game. ramping up. Players like McDavid, that not just the speed of their feet, their brains, their decision making is so incredibly fast that as a viewer you can't keep up. Which is great, because that's what's the most entertaining part of it, is you're kind of trying to catch up the whole game and see what they're going to do next.
For sure, man. I was going to say off that too. So for anybody that maybe doesn't know, because I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the pod, but Nick shoots for the NHL as an LSC, and Nick will shoot a game, and then we'll like look at the footage here in the shop, and I mean we will just be mesmerized watching these different plays, because a lot of times Nick will focus and key in on one guy, and a lot of times it's Darlene, where we can just watch his edge work and just how well he is skating away from the puck, but also with the puck too. So I mean, for us, like, to be able to I think it's a privilege for me and for other guys too, to be able to just see this game from a unique perspective, and just like to focus in on one guy with an ISO cam is crazy. And I think it allows us to see like exactly what you said, how fast the game is, and how the speed is such a huge element of everything that's moving with the game too. So
yeah, no doubt. I think the way I watch hockey too is I kind of just watch my favorite players, and Darlene's one of them. So I get to watch quite a few Buffalo games, and like you said, just seeing what they're able to do day to day and how effortless they make it look, even if they're not breaking ankles, whatever it is, if they're controlling the pace of the play on the ice. That's when you watch a lot of hockey and you see a guy dictate the speed at which the game's playing and holding possession and not forcing plays when they don't exist. You see a guy who's at the top tier of player in the NHL, and Darlene would fit that description. Quinn Hughes, we're seeing him, not just this year, years past, where we're seeing him just so dominant with the puck, just doing whatever he wants, having all the time in the world, cutting, weaving through areas most players won't go to. Makar, same thing. So defensemen, hats off to the new age of defensemen. They've really helped advance this game for sure, because it's way more fun to watch them play.
Yeah, and speaking to that too, I'm sure a lot of people have seen Nick's head motion tracking videos now, and I'm curious to see how you and Nick connected, and originally like how you saw his work for the first time, because I know like I just said, for us, like it's been a really dope thing for us to see how much this has been something that other people think is really cool. And then some of the comments are so funny, like people think like their heads don't move and stuff. It's like this kid's putting like all this time and effort into making these edits. So yeah, just from like my perspective, I'm curious to see like how you guys connected and like what you think of those type of videos too.
Yeah, man. I mean, hats off to you. Those are unbelievable. I found them on just on Instagram, and they're constantly coming into my search feed, and it was. It started with those motion tracking videos because they just look so good. But, even the ones before you're doing motion tracking is just like ISO cam on a player it's hard to do, but it's just like when you're following your favorite players and seeing what they're doing with the puck, away from the puck and stuff like that. It's truly exceptional. And like for a guy like me who's constantly like grabbing clips as examples for kids to learn from, even just for myself to put in a bank, like in the bank to like have later, because I'm doing like a course where I try and show like here's the game application of a move. It's great to see that not just done with like the wide NHL cam. Those are great too, but it's great to see up close. You truly see the speed at which they do it. When you do the motion tracking too, those guys look so incredibly fast. Yeah, it's crazy. And I like anyone can tell when you go to a game, if you sit front row, it's way faster than when you're in the nosebleeds or whatever it is. So you get a good idea of just how skilled they are, how fast they are, how quick thinking they are, and what it really takes to last at the NHL level. I think it's really shown the NHL in a new light with those vids for sure.
I appreciate that, man. It's crazy because like even like Matt and I, we talk about this a lot. Like I first saw what motion tracking was on a basketball video probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm like, this would be so sick to do in hockey. And I like tried it before. It didn't really work the first time I tried, so I kind of just like scrapped it. And then we went to All-Star in Vegas, and we had media credentials for that. I forgot about
this, dude.
Yeah, so that's
shot
why,
that
like,
from the seat.
Yeah, I shot some content, like some videos from like the lower bowl, and just tried to see what I could do with the head tracking stuff. And it worked out pretty well, and then kind of got away from it, and then I got the gig with the league, and just had a lot of clips that were just getting thrown away and not really getting used. I'm like, these guys are making like these crazy moves, and like no one is seeing this right now. Like these guys are moving, like their eyes are moving, their heads are constantly up. Like just it's crazy. It's just a different way to see the game, and just to show like again, what these players are really capable of doing with and without the puck.
Yeah, and like you say, like reading the comments, I think with your video specifically, you see a very specific kind of comment when they're talking about the scanning, the head, not just head up, but like looking side to side and constantly moving and stuff like that. It really gets people thinking about skills in a different way. Versus sometimes that stuff just goes under the radar a bit when you're watching just the full scope of the game and stuff like that. But when you're hyper focused on one player and their movements and stuff, you really can see a lot and learn a lot. As a player, like you're always trying to be harder to read. That's your job, is to not let people know your next move, not make your moves obvious. So, looking at videos like that, you can see the difference in certain players.
Yeah.
Like certain players are a little bit easier to read. They have a little bit more tells versus other players hide those cues a little better. And those are the players who are holding onto the puck, faking people out more.
It's cool too, because like with like Rasmus, for example, I mean, like I could just see his patience with the puck, and like I feel like you're not really seeing that you're not seeing that on real television. Like you're only just seeing the back and forth play or where the puck's going, but you're not actually watching and seeing like what he's looking for, where he's looking to make his next move, or I've seen him do so many amazing things with the puck in like such little time. Like it's just so cool to see.
Yeah, no, he's incredible. Like I think I was watching him in the SHL before he was breaking in the league too, and it was just like you're seeing it in the NHL now. It wasn't as dominant when he broke in as rookie defenseman usually isn't, but you go back, watch some SHL clips, and you're just like, this guy is just so much better than everyone else.
He's
and
different.
like you touched on, just the patience and not forcing things is a skill that's acquired over time, and he's spent a lot of hours working on it. Even just having the puck in the right place and looking off a play. You're kind of not doing anything in terms of moving your body or whatever, but it's not that easy to do when you're under pressure.
I think too, like I was listening to Chicklets just this past episode. I'm not sure like how tapped in you are like with them or if you keep up, but they were interviewing one of the guys from the U.S. team that had just won, and he was talking about just like the whole camp and like the whole process that they go to from start to finish to get to World Junior, and it was just so interesting to hear how often they're at the rink, how often they're on the ice. I mean, like I think it was it Will Smith that they had on? Is that
Could have been.
Or,
I don't know. I didn't catch that one. I
was
saw
it
a couple
Will
clips
Smith?
from it.
They've had Will Smith on.
Okay.
Not sure if that was the one, but
I don't know, but regardless, it was a player that just talked about that process and like what it was like again, going from camp to World Junior and how much time they spend, and it's just crazy because like a lot like that time that those kids put in, like they go and win a gold medal. So like it's just goes to show like how much work you really got to put in to get to that next level, and also fine tune your skills on and off the ice.
Yeah. I mean, I tell this to people all the time. Like it's when you get the people who don't watch sports much, and you think these guys are just making millions playing a sport they love. That's true, but it's like a lot of people undermine the work away from the ice. What it takes to just maintain your body alone, and then you think the mental side of the game. What it takes to that stuff you don't see. You can't really measure with numbers or anything like that. Like we can measure speed, shot power, but just their mental toughness and perseverance through whatever they're going through, whether it's a goal slump or whatever it is. It's pretty crazy what they do have to go through in order to build that confidence and sustain that level of play physically and mentally at that level. It's like you said, just the hours you put in on and off the ice to get there, and not only get there but stay there is crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's just one step too. And then next thing they've got like the draft, you've got the NHL. It's just like there's so many other things that go into like, okay, like that's just like one level of it.
Yeah.
Like after winning Worlds, now it's like, all right,
man,
now what do I got to do to like go win a Stanley Cup?
Yeah, you got these expectations
on
you, which can be good or bad depending on how you take that as a player, right? Like it's like you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself because you want to remember how you got to that level. You don't want to have to like change your mindset going into it, but you've got to be able to block out all the stuff that has is not going to help you play the way you're playing, which again, that's tough. Like staying away from the media obviously is probably a smart thing to do when you play in a big city market like Toronto, Chicago, Buffalo, or something like that. Like it's for sure, like players, I think expectations. I talk to like players who are, one of them's in the WHL now, and it's like, that is something they think about, and they're like, it's not something you should, but it's tough to not.
Right.
So it's those guys have quite a lot to have on their mind, but to be, to just focus on what you're doing and not worry about the rest is a skill in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious, so how often do you follow the style, fashion, and the culture, everything that's infusing into the game right now? Obviously, we talked a little bit about the Better Sherwood collab, which you've received some product for. But, yeah, I'm curious to see what your perspective of the game is right now and kind of where it's heading in that movement.
Yeah, I'm not tapped into style much, man. I don't think I've changed my style since I was like in high school in terms of what I wear or whatever. But I get a lot of stuff sent to me and whatever, and I like trying new stuff and all that stuff. So I think it, especially you get to like the outdoor rink, there's a certain style that's just there's so much heritage in it. There's so much, about it. Like for me, I always try and wear a jersey, even if I'm just going by myself, because it just reminds me of the good times as a kid, or whatever that is. So I think, style is just wrapped up in the culture of hockey, which is certainly changing, and what you guys are doing is definitely really cool.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've never really thought about it like that, how like the pond heritage is almost very different from like anything with the league right now. I think of that too. Like I used to do the same thing, like wear different jerseys to the pond and stuff like that. And yeah, I've never really thought about it like that, how those are a little bit different. But yeah, we just been talking about like younger players and this younger demographic of fan around the game. So kind of made me think about that and how the game is trending in that direction. But yeah, I love following your pond videos and stuff. And I know we're coming up on the I think we're gonna come up on the 18th and skate in Toronto too. So that'd be a
Show
good time.
the outdoor rinks, man.
Yeah, that'd be
sweet.
sick. Yeah, looking forward to that. But you got anything else you wanna?
Yeah, how are we good on time? Sorry. 30 minutes. We could probably wrap it up. The one thing I did want to ask though, because obviously, like I know you talked a little bit about working with like Biz, Darlene, like during the EA stuff. Like, is there any like athlete or anybody like any like celebrity that you maybe like worked with that like you just like what was the experience like, and two, like who's your favorite? I guess who's your favorite, and then also like what was the experience like?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, I did one with Barkov when we were on the synthetic ice. They built a synthetic ice rink on a beach in Florida, and we did a little shootout competition against each other. That would have been like, I don't know, like 6-7 years ago, a long time ago. But it was great. Like, I love Finnish people. I got a lot of Finnish friends. I play floorball, so I love their like style of humor, dry humor, whatever. So talking with him, shooting the shit and whatever, it was just like, he's a regular guy. And he just, he definitely doesn't carry that, I'm a celebrity, I'm better than you. You're just chilling, talking, messing around, playing hockey, and fun to do a little shootout competition against him. And it's always funny to see NHL players skate on synthetic for the first time, because it's hard. There's different grades of synthetic, and I think we were on not the highest grade, so it was kind of sticky. So Barkov was like running on the synthetic ice at the start. You have to get the blades to heat up for it to like glide a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was just funny seeing him run on synthetic there, and I guess like on the ice developmentally, like I got to work with Jonathan Taves a little bit there when I was in Chicago, and I think just the professionalism from him, and he's a funny guy too, but he was a gamer. Like, he always just wanted to work on different stuff, very receptive, and that's what makes those players very good. Is they're at a level, but they're always looking to get better at that level. And I think the obsession with getting better at like the fundamentals is what separates like the stuff you do all the time, the moves you do 80% of the game. Like, they can be monotonous, they could be boring, but you always got to chip away at them. It can't always be, I got to add a new skill to my tool bag. Quite often when I work with higher range players, we're not doing many different skills. It's doing some boring stuff, trying to find key areas you're at on the ice and trying to get better within that framework, because there's different roles for different players, and if you're a different role player, you find yourself on different spots on the ice, you're gonna have to approach your individual development differently than everyone else.
Wow, I love that kind of approach. I feel like I know, like, for skill development, like when I was young, when we were all kids, like, I mean, we weren't practicing certain things like catching passes in the feet.
Yeah.
On like a breakout or just like stuff like that. Like, I don't think I started doing that until like
flipping the puck. You know how many times Darlene flips the puck a game out of the zone? Yeah, and it's like it's almost like it's a perfect pass, like an outlet pass most of the time. So
but like, it's so great to even like it's like refreshing to hear like you're working on that kind of stuff with players though too, because that's how you put, like you said it before too, like that's how you push the game forward. So it's super cool to see what you've done for the hockey culture over the past year. years, and it's super cool to even have you in here. So, I mean, I don't know, Maddie, if you got anything. I mean, I know we can wrap this up because we're about to hit the ice here in a little bit.
I would say, do you have any advice for younger fans or younger players? I know we have a bit of a demographic that's tapped into that. So anything that you would say to our audience watching like that?
Yeah, I think, for any kid out there, biggest thing is to enjoy what you do. I think you get, better at hockey. You can kind of forget the word fun is the most important thing, because fun's going to relate to you're going to go out and do the work more. If it's not enjoyable and it's just a grind the entire time, when the clock hits whatever it hits, you're done. You're wrapping up, going home, and the goal is when you're done your team training or whatever, or when you have a little bit of time in the week, is you'll fill that with more training and development and make it enjoyable, so that you'll want to continuously work on your craft. And I think if you interview any player and you talk about what they did away from their team and away from even their private one-on-one session with coaches, you look at a guy like Bedard, how often he probably just ripped shots at a net. And what led him to be able to do that? What made it enjoyable for him? I'm not sure, but find a way to make training enjoyable, whether that's going out with friends or whatever. Always remember, we play this game, number one, to enjoy it. And the more you enjoy it, I think that's how you get the best you can possibly get at it.
That's really well said. And I would say the biggest thing, too, is we're all here because we have a passion for the game that grows deeper than the game itself. And I think a lot of that, for you, it's evident that started on the pond, right? So it's I think for all of us, we have all have a unique and personal connection to the game of why we love it as a whole. So really cool to hear your story. And I'm privileged that you came to our show and came to the shop, and want to say thank you again for that.
Yeah, man, my pleasure.
Yeah,
Honored to
man.
be the first guest in person.
Yeah, dude, thank you for doing this. This was dope. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, thanks for doing this, bro. This is awesome.
Anytime,
Super
man.
last minute. Well, not really last minute, but we planned it. But fire.